Hey, good afternoon and welcome to Everyday Talk 24/7. You're actually seeing this on Saturday, October 15th, but I recorded it yesterday, October 14th, on Friday, because I was going to be traveling today, but I wanted to be able to get a video out. So you're seeing this video today, but it was recorded yesterday. So again, welcome to my channel. I'm going to respond to a really cool thought that I had from one of you coming in, one of the viewers, Lynn, who asked the question about wanting to be able to trust God. And she referenced some videos that I had made earlier about reference to my wife Ruth and how she was able to trust God, and her faith actually grew during her time of treatment and diagnosis with brain cancer. Now almost just 9 years ago, when she went to be with the Lord. And Lynn was wanting to know, and how can she develop this faith? Well, Lynn, one of the answers to this is trust is not about outcomes. Trust is about God's faithfulness. So outcomes are not the basis of trust, because we know that God will be faithful to us regardless of the outcome. That's why I've entitled this about trust is not about outcomes, this video. In the thumbnail tonight, you see a fire, and the fire is representing the flames, the massive flames that Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego were confronted with by King Nebuchadnezzar, because he said, you've got to worship my God as opposed to my big image, my big 90-foot idol of gold. You've got to worship that and not your God, because they have been reported accurately for still praying to God. And Nebuchadnezzar is mad at them for disobeying him. So they respond to him when he's saying, look, if you do this, if you bow down and worship this big idol, everything is cool, and we'll go back to life as normal. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, O your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold that you have set up. They know God can rescue them, but even if he chooses not to, it's not going to change a thing. See, their trust was in God, not in the outcome, but in trusting God that he would be faithful to them. And they weren't sure what that would look like, but that wasn't their concern. They knew their only concern was to bring about bringing honor and faithfulness and really displaying their covenant love for God. Of course, Nebuchadnezzar loses it, screams, goes mad, causes the flames to be even hotter, to the point where the people that threw in these three friends, they died from the heat. And of course, we know how the story ends, that they survived, and Nebuchadnezzar realizes how great God is. But this is what Ruth and I both realized as we were going to that first MRI to check her out. Whether the MRI gave a result that was what we wanted or what we didn't want, it doesn't change God's faithfulness to us or to her. And that brought us such great comfort. You don't measure God by outcomes. You measure him by his faithfulness to his word. And that brought Ruth great peace and comfort. So that at the point, over 2.5 years, 2 years later, when we got the MRI, which said the cancer was starting up again, she didn't panic. She didn't feel like that God had deserted her. She knew that she could trust God. And that was her hope. And that was where her trust was. And that's what God responded to. And that's what gave her stability. Trust is not a matter of figuring out the outcome. Trust is a matter of believing that God will be faithful to his word. And that's what our hope is. And that's the thought for this night. And as we go into the weekend, place your trust in God's faithfulness. Because trying to figure out the outcomes will just make us more of a mess. Because we don't know the outcome, but we know God will be faithful. Again, thanks so much for being here. Check us out everydaytalk247.com. If you haven't subscribed, turn on post notifications. These videos will come right to you. Again, such a blessing to be with you every week. And Lord willing, we'll get started next week, next Monday, together. You have a great evening and a great Lord's Day.